Hey everyone, Childlike Man back again with another Hot Toys figure review. This one has been quite a long time coming, actually. I've been talking about it and teasing it since I started doing these. And it's finally here. It's just, the reason it took so long is because this is the biggest set I have of, in terms of Hot Toys. It has the most stuff, the most to go over, and it's also probably my favorite that I own. Um, it's just kind of it's the one that would be the most time consuming and difficult, but also probably the most fun. Maybe actually it could be the opposite. We'll see. But yeah, so this is the Hot Toys The Batman 2022 Batman. This is the deluxe set with the bat signal, um, and it is incredible. It is one of my favorite pieces in my collection. Period. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this guy. First, we're gonna look at accessories. I think we'll probably just start with the bat signal to get it out of the way. And then we will get into everything else. So stay tuned. Okay, so first off, we're gonna look at the bat signal. We're just gonna take a quick look, cause it's kind of dusty. It's got this. It is plastic, most of it. Some of it's metal, but it's got this this like aged copper type texture to it, and it holds dust very very well. As I'm sure you can see. So, yeah, like, look at that. It's very difficult to dust, so I don't want to linger on it too long, and also, while it does light up, and it lights up just fine, it is kind of a pain to set up, so I'm not really going to get into all that, but I will show you how it works. So it's you just plug it up. Like, there's a... Man, I don't even remember where the plug is. Hold on. There's a little... It's just like a micro USB... Yeah, there it is. C-type USB. You just plug it in, and it lights up. Honestly, the light feature is kind of because it's not especially accurate to the movie. The movie had a very warm light, like a warm yellow light, and this is very like white, almost LED looking, like a flashlight almost. So it's kind of it's not even really worth using because it doesn't look that great. It's not especially powerful either, so it's like, it looks really cool though, just as is. So I'm not really all that bothered, to be honest. And we'll look at these accessories first. This here is just a little tool you use to arrange the eyeballs. You have an extended grapple hook that plugs into this right here. That's the extended grapple gun. If you remember from the movie, his grapple guns are just like, they kind of fling out of his, they retract into and out of his gauntlets. And this one is the standard one that's retracted. That is in here because I have him posed with one of these out. Here you have the open hand for some dramatic poses. This is a grapple gun holding hand right here. Focus. There we go. And then you've got standard grippy hand and fist hands. It's a little bit of hair on. Not bad. Sorry, I have hair on my desk. I think my cat was in here. And then as you can see, there's a bunch of like empty slots, and that's because most of those are the little pieces that go on his belt, which we'll get into when we get to Batman himself, because I'm not going to take those out because they're really annoying. But this is probably my favorite accessory in the whole set. And I don't display him with it because I'm really scared it's going to get lost, because I like it that much. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't really want to use it, but I'm really, really glad it's here. So you have the envelope there. This is the card that Riddler left Batman at the beginning of the movie at the murder scene of the mayor. And it actually opens, and it has the writing from the movie and the cipher and everything. And it's so cool. And I'm so, so glad it's here. Because, you know, sometimes you don't need to use accessories to be happy that they're there. And this is one of those cases. Because that's just cool, man. You know? It's just cool. Oh, hold on. I forgot to point out these. The Batarang. Batarang. From the movie. That's just his chest symbol that he can take out and use as a knife. So you have one that's like kind of folded up, and you have one that's like locked that he can actually use. And these are both die-cast metal. So they have some heft to them. Alright, and here we have the kind of standard Hot Toys display base of the time. You have like a kind of just a regular, just hard ground top with the Batman nameplate there. But you also have this one, which is kind of reminiscent of like the marketing and the posters and stuff, and it's really, really cool. And then you have this one that's even cooler. It is the you can see the rain and like the fire. So that's the asphalt in the scene where right after the Batmobile chase with Penguin, and he's walking up to Penguin's flipped car, because you can kind of recreate that image with some other stuff that's this came with it. I'll show you a little later. But this is supposed to be just that. So you put it on the display base there, and then you put the little crotch grabber stand in there, and you stand, and then that kind of just holds it in place, and then you have Batman standing on top of it, obviously. I don't ever use this because I have the diorama base, but this is cool. It's another one of those things that I don't use, but it's cool to have. And speaking of the diorama base, here's that. This is it fully assembled, but you have some options here. So you can just take this whole thing off, and have just the little gargoyle thing, which I personally don't recommend because it doesn't balance too well by itself. And then you have the steps here that, as you saw, attach into the little gargoyle bit. And you can take this off and take this off so that you have the railing and stuff. And there's a couple other options as far as display that I honestly don't remember too well, because I've had it in one pose for so long that I kind of just stopped messing with it, to be honest. But yeah, I've had it in that pose that you saw at the beginning of the video for a while now, because every time I try to change it, it's just like, it's not as cool, you know? So, but yeah. So that's the diorama base and the bases. Next up, I'm going to show you the backing for this thing. I'm going to get some pictures later of Batman in the pose with it. But yeah, here's this thing, and it's pretty cool. The Netflix Daredevil from Hot Toys from way back in the day had a similar kind of backdrop thing that I really enjoyed. It's very cool. And then here's this. So two things here. So this is the flight suit. This is the wingsuit. I've never put it on the figure. One, because I knew I'd never display it that way. Like, it's a cool scene, but it doesn't look especially cool. It kind of just looks like a, like a diver's suit, which I guess it is. But it's neat to have. And then this other thing, right here, is for a set that I don't have. So this is a cape that is kind of wired straight back for the there was a set that included the bat cycle, and this is for having him ride the cycle and have his cape like billowing behind him. So there's that. Again, I don't have that set, so I've never used this. I've never needed to. But it's there. And that's cool. So now we'll get into some of the other accessories. Alright, and here you have some of the main accessories. You have your swappable mouth plates, which is pretty typical for a figure with a cowl like this. Gritted teeth, angry kind of mouth, kind of open, kind of talking, I guess. And you have your relaxed hands, and these are the hands that that come on him in the box, so that's why they don't have a spot in here. You have your empty mask that he can hold. You just have him hold it and look at it or whatever. It's very cool. It actually offers a really neat look at the cowl itself, which I appreciate. And then here you have this kind of front hairpiece. So you have swappable hair pieces. So first of all, here's the Bruce Wayne head. It looks really cool. This is one of the only figures I've ever had where I, for a time, did just display him unmasked. I'm not an unmasked guy. Like, it's cool to have those heads, like the unmasked head. I have never been one to display with them. But in this case, I did for a while. Just because, for whatever reason, I think it's the hair and the eye makeup or whatever. I just think he looks really cool with the mask off. I've always thought that about Rob's Batman. And then this is like a more combed over hair plate that you just take the messy hair off and put this one on. I never use that. It doesn't look as cool to me as the messy hair does. I just dig that look. Very reminiscent of me in my teenage years. And now for what you're all here to see. One thing I do want to point out before we really get into this. This thing looks way better in person than it does on camera. For whatever reason, every phone camera anyway, I've ever photographed this thing with, the disparity in color between this and this is significantly worse on camera. Like, this is not nearly as, the contrast is not nearly as stark in person. So I just want to point that out. But anyway, even with that weird disparity, it does still look really freaking good. The stitching in the suit is great. All of the little armor pieces, like, they're all sculpted, just sitting on top of the suit. Like, I imagine that this is just what the suit looks like in person in real life. It looks great. The suit was kind of designed to be a Hot Toys, I think, in a similar vein to, like, Netflix Daredevil or, like, Superman 2025. I think they just, it's the kind of costume that really, really benefits from being put in this kind of format. So, for articulation, we'll start at the head, which is an interesting thing because there's no joint at all. It's just a magnet, right? So you just, boom, there you go. And then you can move it, roll it, however. The only thing is that, so on each individual mouth plate, you have this part where the cowl comes up under his chin. And if you have him looking up, you kind of get this weird separation there. If it'll focus, yeah, that weird kind of separation. So I don't usually have him doing that. But it's fine because I usually just have him looking forward and a little down, like that. Just because I think that's how it... One, you avoid that weird little lip, but also just... That's where this suit really shines. This cowl really shines like that. But yeah, so in the sculpt, it looks like leather. You can see the stitching there and the scratches from the beatings he's taken every night when he goes out. This comes out, give me a second, for when you want to have him displayed, holding the battering. This is die-cast metal. It is magnetized in there. You see the little magnets. So that's cool. And then down here with the belt. So, like I was saying earlier, the belt is, it's full of all these little gadgets. And all these little gadgets come separate in that little package. And you have to put each one of them in there individually. And it's really cool, but it's also a real pain. So I'm not going to mess with any of those. Just because I don't feel like dealing with that. And here, so that's the holes there. That is where this right here where the 3 holes are, that is where the grapple gun plugs in. And you can see I have the grapple gun holding hand installed there. I'm not going to mess with that because there's a lot of finagling to go in there to get that in there. And here's the grapple gun itself and the grapple. There is so the extended one with the wire plugs in just right there, same as this one. Okay, so for articulation, it's actually pretty good because this is a full cloth suit. You don't have like rubber padding and stuff. The only thing that does get in the way is the armor in some spots. Wrists are standard Hot Toys ball pegs. It's kind of just the same as it's always been. There's not much crunch, really at all, actually. The knees, I'll use this one because it didn't have the holster on it. Legs can kick forward like that. And the knees bend with some light ratcheting. So they hold really well. The ankle is also on one of those ball pegs. It's a segmented boot, so you have like the foot, and then a separate boot part to allow for articulation and stuff. And that's really what you got. It's not... So when I said it was really well articulated, I mostly meant the arms and legs. So like you're going to have a straight torso the whole time pretty much. Which, I mean, for this costume, this version of the character, it makes sense. Oh man. So there's this piece. So it plugs in right there. The little holes in the belt there. These plug in. And these are very small. And those holes are very narrow, very shallow, and they don't like to hold. So you move this thing around too much, this will pop out, and it's very annoying. But anyway, so hold on. That's Batman. This is already gonna be longer than normal, so I'm gonna skip the usual like going over poses at the end, and I'll just add a couple extra pictures in the slideshow. Also because it's just kind of a total hassle to change this guy around. It's the biggest drawback and the main reason I have not done this video yet until now is because of how much of a hassle it is to just play around with this guy. But man, he just looks so good, and he feels so good to hold. He's got heft to him, but not too much, you know. He feels sturdy for the most part, and you're mostly just worried about stuff falling off of his belt. You know, I'm not really worried about anything breaking, which is really nice. So, yeah, that is Hot Toys the Batman. My favorite Hot Toys that I have, and one of my favorite pieces in my collection as a whole. And, yeah, if you ever get a chance to get your hands on them, I would highly recommend it. See ya.